In this lesson, we'll continue on with our process of selecting and applying colors to a project. Alright, now, in the last lesson, we developed our base color scheme for this Papa's Drive-In Theater logo. And you can see that color scheme reflected up here in our color guide. We've also got it saved into our swatch panel here as a swatch group, and it's time to go ahead and begin applying these colors to our logo. So I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in on our logo here and get nice and close so we can start selecting individual areas of this logo and applying these colors. Now remember, this red color here was our base color, so that's going to exist whether it be tints, shades, or tones of that color in the majority of this logo. So let's go ahead and just kind of explore the design of this logo just a little bit so we can get an idea of how to apply that color. Now I see that this has sort of a border around the logo, and it really mimics one of those 1950s drive-in signs, sort of the fun shapes and just a nice exciting sign here that has a lot of movement going on in it. So I'm going to come in here and let's just select this thick border around it, and not this little bitty thin stroke, but let's select the thick border here, and I'm going to go ahead and just apply our base color to that, just like so. Let me just deselect that, and that's really pretty bright, pretty vibrant, maybe a little bit too bold and a little bit too bright for us right now. So I'm going to come in here and let's just look at some of the tints and shades here for that. And let's go ahead and just select maybe this first tint here and kind of see what effect that has on it. And that actually is a little bit light. I think maybe we need to add sort of a combination of black and white to this base color to get where we want to go. That's definitely not very appealing, that first shade. So I'm going to come back up here, switch it back, and let's go ahead and just go to our color palette here. And we're going to adjust the brightness just a little bit. Maybe just tone that down by adding some black to it. And let's just kind of play with that and deselect it if we need to get a good idea of what we're working with here. Maybe we bring the saturation up a little to balance that out, and just get to a nice red that's going to work well for this sign. I think maybe we could even saturate that just a little bit more, playing with that a little bit. I'm leaving the hue slider alone because we've already developed our base color. I'm just adjusting the saturation and the brightness right now, which essentially is just creating the tints, the shades, and the tones of the color. I think that's a pretty good color right now. Let's go ahead and move on from there. Let's just look at these areas behind the text inside this fun shape. We've got like 3 different colors here, 3 different shades of black, and really we're looking at this, and I'm thinking that maybe that's recessed in. That's a little further back than this border piece. So maybe we want to make these a little darker than our base color. So let's go ahead and come back over here to our color guide, and we'll grab this first piece right here. Let's just go ahead and apply our base color to it. Now it's really bright at first. Let's go ahead and maybe select a shade of that color just to sort of tone it back some. Maybe go even a little darker. Now I'm thinking that we need to, let's go to the color palette here again and just adjust this color. Let's go ahead and come back. First, let's go back to our base color, and we'll just adjust it from there. So I'm just going to adjust the brightness and the saturation until I get to a color that I'm really pretty happy with. So I'm going to kind of come down a little bit with the brightness, maybe come up with the saturation some, and just tweak this color just a little bit. And we're getting close. Let's deselect that and take a look. Maybe we want to go just a little bit darker and a little more saturated. I kind of like that color right about there. So let's go ahead and stick with that, and we'll move on from here. Let's go down to this next piece here, this fill piece right here. And maybe we want that to be even a little bit darker. So again, I'm going to start with my base color here in my swatches palette or in my color guide. And that's really bright, so we're going to tone that down with a shade quite a bit here at first. And looking at that, and that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something a little more rich, so I'm just going to modify that from our color picker again, or excuse me, our color palette, and let's just bring that brightness way down here. Maybe the saturation comes up some. Let's just continue to adjust that a little bit. Maybe we do want it up to be a little darker, so just come down just a little bit and bring the saturation up a little more, just like so. Okay, I think I'm actually pretty happy with that color as well. So I'm going to come down here and let's just look at this little piece right here, this really dark piece. So let's go ahead and just start again with our default base color here from our swatches palette. And definitely don't want to use it in that form, so I'm going to come over here and just really make that dark. Let's just really saturate that and bring a lot of black into that color. Maybe there's 90% black in that, so let's just look at that for just a moment. If you need to, don't forget to zoom out and just sort of take a look at it from a little bit further away, if you will. And I like the way that this is, I like the direction this is going in right now. So let's go ahead and start looking here at the word drive-in. That's going to be sort of an area that I had envisioned. Maybe we're going to use the other two colors in our color scheme here in this area. Maybe we want this to be really the point of attention. So I'm going to come in here and go ahead and select. Let's just go ahead and select not this inner fill here, but let's select this bubbly letter behind it here. Now you may notice there's some blue lines appearing over what I'm doing here as I'm working. Now that just means I have my smart guides turned on, and if you want to turn those on, you can find those up under your view drop-down menu, and then smart guides right here. Just select that and put a little check mark next to it, and that'll just really help you to isolate areas on a piece of artwork that you want to select. So I'm going to mouse over this N shape right here, and I see that the outline is selected for that little bubbly letter behind the N. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and that's actually a group here, and you can see quite a bit going on there. I'm just going to zoom out, maybe not quite that far, and I'm going to come over here and let's go ahead and just select our blue maybe for this. Now that is a really bright blue. It's really not quite what I'm going for, so let's go ahead and adjust that a little bit with our color palette and really add some black and maybe some white to that, and just tweak those two sliders right there just to get to a color we're happy with. So I'm going to bring that down a little bit and maybe saturate it a little bit more. Adding a little bit of black here, maybe a little more saturation, just like so. I think that's going to work for right now. I want to go ahead and get the other color going here so I can just see how the colors look when they're all together. So I'm going to come in here and select this gray fill on the inside of these. Now notice there's like a little white stroke on the inside of these letters. Now when this logo was originally designed, that was sort of intended to imply maybe there's a little thin light bulb that traces around these letters, like you might see on a neon sign. So I'm going to come in here now and let's just go ahead and select this fill, and I've got this nice gray color here. Let's go ahead and use maybe our third color in our color scheme right here. So I'm going to come over here and grab this warm yellow here, and that's pretty bright as well. So let's go ahead and just tweak that a little bit up here in our color palette, and maybe we don't want that to be quite as saturated, maybe a little darker. Let's just kind of tweak that just a little bit. Now maybe, at this point I'm looking at that and, maybe I want to add just a little bit more red to this yellow. So I want to come up here and just adjust my hue slider just a little bit and add a little bit more red just by bumping that a couple degrees. Just like that. Let's just zoom out a little bit here. Alright, I'm really liking the way that this logo is looking right now, so let's just go ahead and zoom in here and let's look at one other area. Maybe we want this little white stroke that traces around our border, that sort of traces the word theater right here. That's also sort of like this white stroke around these letters. Maybe that's supposed to be like a light bulb that runs around the border of the sign. So maybe we want that to be sort of a pink color, maybe a really light tint of this red that we've been using. So let's come over here, let's go ahead and just color that our base color, and come up to our color guide and maybe grab this really light tint of that color and apply a pink to it, something like that. Let's go ahead and select that again, and maybe we want it even to be a little bit lighter than that, maybe a little more desaturated. So I'm going to just nudge that saturation slider down just a little bit here, maybe 2 or 3%, And let's take a look at how we're doing. I kind of like that the word Papa's is white. Maybe that matches, is done sort of in a similar fashion to this white light bulb that's around the letters at drive-in. Yeah, I really like the direction we've gone here with this logo. I like the colors. It's really a lot of energy being created within this logo, and the colors are really working pretty well together. Now I'm going to go ahead and just put a couple of finishing touches on this. Maybe we want a couple of strategically placed shadows in here. Maybe there's sort of a shadow that exists maybe in these corners, creating a little bit of depth here between this border here and this fill. Alright, now in order to create this shadowed effect here, I'm actually going to use a little bit of a trick. Now, Illustrator doesn't have an inner shadow effect that we can apply to this shape right here. So I'm going to use an inner glow, but I'm going to just change the settings of that just a little bit here. So I'm going to come over here and actually choose my appearance palette and then add an effect to it. So we'll come up here, and looking at our Illustrator effects here, I'm going to choose a option from this stylize menu and look for inner glow. So in adding an inner glow here, let's just go and drag this over and hit the preview option. We want to make sure that this option is not set to screen. It's actually set to multiply. And I'm going to come in here and select a nice cool purple color here, maybe a nice saturated violet. Let's just come in here and select that. Now that's a little bit dominant. Let's go ahead and let's just reduce the blur a little bit on that. Rein it in just a little bit here. Maybe it doesn't extend out quite that far. And let's see, maybe we bring the opacity up some here. I had it at 45. This is entirely up to you. Just kind of adjust this inner glow the way you feel it might look the best. So I'm just going to go with that right now. Let's go ahead and just zoom out here. And I'm going to go ahead and just add a drop shadow to the word drive-in here, these yellow letters, creating just sort of a look that it might be raised up. So I'm going to come up here again to my appearance palette and select a drop shadow option here from this stylize menu. And I'm going to go ahead and set these to 1 point here on the offsets and a 1 point blur. And let's just preview that. Again, we're at multiply. And we'll hit OK on that and then deselect it. And I really like the way that it creates sort of this sort of a effect that this is raised up. Now let's just zoom out here, and we're not going to need this anymore, so we can just delete that. Alright, now let's just zoom out one more time here and take a look. That's looking really nice, and I think we're really at a nice stopping point here. So let's just review what we've talked about. In this lesson, we have explored how to develop a color scheme and apply that to a project using a very simple process. Now I'd like to encourage you at this point to try integrating this process into some projects on your own.